Greetings, citizens! Justiguy has arrived. At long last, Dragon Ball Super's Tournament of Power is finally here. Can you believe it? We've come a long way from those early teaser images of the female Broly back in January. That's right, Toei has been hyping up this story arc since January. This story, this battle, it's all been getting built up for half a year now. That's half a year about hearing about other universes. Half a year about hearing about 10 fighters representing those universes. Half a year of Goku and Gohan recruiting our universe's representatives. It's been half a year of build-up, foreshadowing, and somehow some of Super's hands-down best episodes yet. I'd even go as far to say that most of Super's best episodes were in this pre-Tournament of Power story arc. But now that the Tournament of Power is actually here, we have to ask ourselves, how is it actually turning out? Well, we learned a while back that it's not actually a tournament so much as it is a battle royale. A wild and crazy free-for-all with 80 fighters duking it out all at once. What could be better? That sounds like it should be awesome, right? You, don't know Dragon Ball very well, do you? Here's how the 2 episodes following the beginning of the Tournament of Power went for the most part. We got a dragged-out explanation of rules we already knew. We got characters reacting to those rules as if they couldn't possibly have heard them before. And most of the wild and crazy free-for-all with 80 fighters duking it out all at once, that's being shown to us in the form of generic background explosions. Not even the form of unique techniques being flung back and forth, but just generic background explosions so they don't have to deal with fleshing out any of the other fighters more than they absolutely have to. And the fact is that that's just not very much. And as for the parts of the tournament we are able to see, well, for the most part, it's been limited to flashy, non-fighting sequences, stare-downs, and smack talk. Again, that's most of it. We are getting a little fighting, but when I say a little fighting, I mean a little fighting. We are getting some rare instances of teamwork and battles here and there, you know, the kind of stuff we've been getting hyped for, again, months. And towards the end of episode 98, there was some real combat, notably a tremendous lack of the kind of combat and abilities we saw in the preliminaries with the same universe that just got eliminated. But do you know what took up most of these episodes? Do you know what they thought we really wanted to see? Do you know what they spent the most time on now that the Tournament of Power finally started? Banter in the stands. Far too often, we get to watch what should be the main event being interrupted so that we can watch the Supreme Kai, Beerus, Whis, and their equivalents from other universes explain or argue about the few seconds of battle we just watched. And this, citizens, is the Tournament of Power. And you know what? I don't think anyone should be surprised about it. As soon as they announced it was going to be a battle royale, I think our expectations should have been lowered accordingly. Has anything about Super, or even Dragon Ball in general really, ever shown that they could have handled something like that, at least to its fullest potential? Each universe's teams have likely just been filled out with characters to take up space. Space so that our universe could have the 10 characters that were chosen for the team, and even then, one of them got booted off for Frieza. It doesn't seem like we're going to be getting much from the teams from the other universes, and that's a real shame. I mean, it doesn't even seem like we're really going to be getting much in terms of fights either. Look at how the fights have been proceeding so far. The Trio de Danger was originally introduced to us as foes who used unique techniques. They didn't even have the same form of energy as our universe. Isn't that cool? Their introduction brought about so much. Did other universes function similarly? What kind of abilities would other characters from their universe use? How would our team manage to fight back against them after learning how their abilities worked? And what about that whole not being to sense energy thing? Once the whole team filled out their 10-man roster, surely something amazing was going to follow, right? Well, just how did that turn out? Our guys invented a magic barrier to nullify one of their techniques off-screen. No, we didn't even get a conversation about it, not even a flashback or a moment where it seemed like the poison would work, just for tension's sake. No, we just got a barrier and that was it. And the other team members were mostly just kind of there, and their designs all but scream, "I am only going to be here for 1 episode, so not much effort was put into me at all." I've already talked at length about the problem with designing characters like this, so I'm not going to go into it now, but seriously, just look at all those characters and tell me any of them look like ones that were going to be sticking around. But the worst part of this isn't even how disappointing the fight was. And don't get me wrong, the fight was disappointing because, let's face it, the preliminary match with these guys was so much more entertaining, gripping, all of that. Because I get it, for the first universe to be eliminated and for the one that was already stated to be the weakest, you could argue that having a disappointing fight is kind of forgivable. Fine, I'll give you that. No, the worst part is that with how this battle, disappointing as it is being presented to us, we couldn't even enjoy it for what it is. When they kept cutting away to other fights supposedly going on off screen, it just highlights to me what a farce this whole thing is. When the conversations in the stands take up so much time, it doesn't hype me up for what I'm not seeing or for what I just saw. It just makes me frustrated. And sometimes they're not even able to be consistent when they're cutting back and forth. For example, 1 minute we cut away from Android 18 fighting an opponent. But when we cut back to her to watch her reacting to something, there's no sign of her being in a fight, despite the fact that her opponent still, as far as we know, hasn't been knocked out. Even her just getting punched or something, or maybe told to pay attention to her battle would have been better than that. And then, citizens, here is where it all comes together. At the end of the episode, we're told 1 minute has passed. You see where they're going with that, right? By trying to make this all appear frantic and showing us ultimately very little, and thus spending so much time in the stands, they can then turn around and say, oh, but see, only a little bit of time has passed and this is all just started. They can play with time however they want by messing with the counter like that, and in turn drag this out however long they want. It kind of makes the timer itself pointless except for the purpose of, dragging this all out. The timer, in that sense, doesn't really matter. Yeah, sure, it works from an in-universe perspective. I mean, how else could you show so much going on at once? Well, besides maybe just dedicating different episodes to what's going on in different places, rather than jumping back and forth like this. Oh, but that would make sense, no. Oh. But from the perspective of a viewer, having to watch a single minute stretched out to 40? What the hell? Do they really think that's going to be entertaining, especially the way they're going about it? And I think the saddest part about this is that the episodes leading up to this battle were paced very well. Maybe, again, some of Super's bests. Rather than drag things out, episodes knew when to cut away and when to stick around. Take the episode in which Gohan and Piccolo trained together prior to the tournament. Each time Gohan and Piccolo made a breakthrough together, we'd cut away to a scene of characters elsewhere, which also progressed things or added to the story in some way, however small. It didn't feel intrusive, and it was usually an enjoyable scene, and it allowed for us to cut right back to Gohan and Piccolo with another relevant scene to that storyline. Compare that kind of progression to how the tournament is progressing. Every little action is interrupted by banter and screaming and da-da-da-da-da. What actions we do get to watch are overshadowed by the simple fact that it doesn't seem like this is going to be getting any better. The fact that when this was pitched to us, it sounded like it was going to be so much more than this. And so in the end, this is just becoming exponentially more frustrating and kind of a disappointment that it is satisfying. But in the end, that's just my take on it. And what do I know? I'm just a guy. So what do you think, citizens? Is the tournament going well? Is it a massive flop right from the get-go? Or are you taking the wait-and-see approach? Whatever the case may be, I'd love to hear how you feel. So let me know, and do all that liking and subscribing and all that good stuff. And until next time, farewell!